Hi BookTube, my name is Sarah and welcome to the Bookish Knitter. Today I am coming to you with a weekly reads video. This is for week number 24 and it is June the 13th through the 19th, 2021. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I finished 8 books this week, you guys, so I have a lot to share with you. Pretty good reading week, I would say. I just found myself like reading all the things this week, and it was weird because yesterday I was thinking getting this list together and getting ready to film this today. I was like, oh, I don't feel like I read that much this week, but clearly I did. So that is all kinds of awesome. I'm really happy with it. So in this video, of course, I'll be sharing with you all the books that I finished this week, and there will be timestamps in the description box below if you want to jump ahead to any of the reviews that I have for these books. And then I will talk about what I am currently reading, and that's it. No crafting this week. I have been doing some crafting, surprisingly, even though I've been reading a lot, but I don't have a ton of progress to show you guys, so I'm saving that for something later down the line. If you guys know, I've gone back and forth on this. Like, I started my YouTube career, if you want to call it that, my YouTube hobby, as a knitting podcast. And I did that for about 5 years and I really enjoyed it. And then towards the end, it got to be a little bit too much trying to keep up with the Joneses in terms of the big knitting podcasts and things like that. So I just wasn't enjoying doing it anymore. And I wanted more to talk about books. So that's why I started the BookTube channel. And I did restart, I think earlier this year, the Sarah Knits and Stitches channel. And I canned that because I just found I didn't have the time to maintain 2 different channels. I don't know how some people do it. I can't. Like, I have other things that I want to do. I want to read, I want to craft, I want to spend time with my friends and family, sometimes not all in that particular order. So, that's why I did that. But what I was thinking about, I was talking to my friend Rainey over at Rainy Day Reads, and I know she does a lot of crafting content within her channel or her videos as well. And for a long time, I've been adding it to the end of these videos. But it's very minimal progress week to week that I'm showing you guys. So instead, what I think I'm going to do is the last Monday of every month, so not this Monday, but the next Monday, I'm going to be literally sitting down and doing a crafting video on this channel. I'm going to keep it on this channel, make my life easy, just do it as another video. If you guys want to watch it, you can watch it. If you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it. Life is cool. Everything is fine. I just thought that was one place where I could contain all of it. And, like I said, those who might really only be here to see the crafty stuff can just see that one video. And I know it's only going to be once a month, but I think that is a good marker for the amount of progress I can get done in a month. Because yes, I do knit, yes, I do cross stitch, and they take time. They're not quick hobbies, right? So at least this way I'll have a little bit more to show you guys. So that's that. So these videos are just going to strictly be reading and me yammering on about random things. So speaking of random things, not really random, Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads, stepdads, grandparents or grandfathers, uncles, cousins, moms who fill the job of both mom and dad, dads of 4-legged furry beasts, and dads who are no longer with us, in my case. Yeah, I looked for a picture to post on Instagram this morning. I was on my Facebook and I was going through my wedding photos and I found the picture of me and my dad from when I got married, the quote-unquote professional posed picture. And I posted that, and in it, I got a little emotional, I have to say. So I know wherever he is right now, he's golfing. And he's, probably got one of the best scores he's ever had. I was just thinking this morning, I'm like, today would have been a perfect day. He would have loved, if he was with us today, because it's a bright, sunny, and hot day. He would have been out on the golf course this morning. We would have been having a barbecue this afternoon, as well to celebrate my nephew's birthday. That's tomorrow. So his grandson will be turning 4. And he would have just been all over that and thinking it would have been fantastic just to see his grandson or his grandkids, both of them, my niece as well. And then tonight there's a hockey game on and it's the playoffs. So it would have just been a great day for dad, So happy Father's Day to everyone out there. So before I get excuse me, emotional, let's jump into the rating for this week. So like I said, I finished 8 books, you guys. The first book that I finished was Hollywood X Factor, and this was by Sheri Whitefeather. I gave this book 4 stars. It is book number 1 in the LA Women series. It is Harlequin Desire novel number 2808, and its publication date is July 2021. So it comes out next month. However, you can purchase it now on the Harlequin and Mills and Boon website, I think. I'm not absolutely certain. I think my viewers last week said, yes, you can. And it is a contemporary romance, of course. So this is the story of Margot and Zeke. And these two are a couple that were once married. And this is very Hollywood, clearly from the title. She is a former child star, and he is the son of former stars. Like his mother was a big famous actress, and his father, I think, was a producer. So he was very much in the limelight growing up. The child of a Hollywood, Hollywood personalities, essentially. A lot of time on the red carpet, parties, things like that. And he hated it. He hated being in the limelight. And Margot, when they met, she was done kind of, I'm done, I've done my child acting thing, and I think I'm just going to move on to, this next stage of my life. And then she got the acting bug again, and she wanted to start acting again. So it ended up breaking up the two of them because he did not want to be the spouse of someone in the limelight. He grew up that way. He was done, right? So they ended up splitting up. However, they're still sleeping together. So there's still a relationship, a friends with benefits relationship there. And then as the course of the story goes on, they start to think about getting back together. It was really, really good. I liked it a lot. I very much love the Hollywood aspect of it. I mean, really, I've said before, my friend Bree says it as well. We talk about this on our podcast, the Categorically Romance podcast, that the Desire books truly are like that adult prom, very much a soap opera kind of a feel to them. The covers are gorgeous. The outfits the characters are in are gorgeous. These stories are just, they're truly that little bit of fantasy, but kind of grounded a lot more in reality. Whereas the Presents novels are very, very much those flights of fantasy, stuff like that you find like with romance, kings and dukes and princes and multi-billionaires who just come and sweep the maid off of her feet. Those are the Presents novels, where these are a bit more grounded in reality, but they're still a little bit fantastical, because how many of us could really relate to that? However, we've all been in that relationship, regardless of your circumstance, where you and the other have split up, and, maybe, there's still feelings there. Maybe it'll work a second time. Who knows? So great second chance romance. I highly recommend this one. It was really good. The next one that I finished this week was The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. This one I also gave 4 stars to. Publication date on this one was May of 2021. This is a contemporary romance, and I did listen to it on audio. It was narrated by Patty Murrin. So I like this one. However, the reason it got a 4 star instead of like a 5 is, surprisingly, my least favorite part of this whole book was the romance itself. Our main characters are Jess and River, and the premise of this story, for those of you who don't know, because I know it's been going around a lot, is that he creates this app to test your DNA to find like your perfect match, kind of an idea. And she submits her DNA on a whim and ends up getting matched with him. So then, because he is the founder of the company, this is huge. They're like a diamond match. They're like 98% or something like that compatible. So they kind of pay her in a way to be his girlfriend for like these events, and to kind of really promote the app and stuff like that. So, and then of course, over the course of their fake dating, they begin dating for real. What really won this story over for me was Jess's daughter, Juno. Her best friend, is it Fitzy or Fizzy? Fitzy, I think. Felicity, I think, is her real name. And she is a romance author, and it's hilarious. There are scenes in coffee shops where Jess will make some comment and she'll be like writing it down, like, oh, let me, you know what I mean? Just getting these great ideas for stories and stuff like that. Those two, the daughter and the best friend, are just hilarious. And her grandparents, Jess's grandparents, are also like, they're just a hoot. There's something they're talking about. Oh, the daughter, she's very, very precocious, very, very smart, right? And she says to her mom, she said, did you know that helicopters were used, something about the soldiers with bordellos. And Jess is like, how do you know the word bordello? And she says, oh, I learned it watching this movie with Grandpa. And then the grandfather's like totally nonchalant reading his newspaper, like, yeah, it just came on the TV, so we were watching it, kind of an idea. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I loved that. My thing was the romance itself really played second fiddle to everything else that was kind of going on. I still did like it. It's just, I don't know. It just didn't give me all the feels, the romance part of it. But still, it was really good. You know what? If you like Christina Lauren, if you feel like you've been quote unquote burned by their last few books, like I know not everybody loved, why do I always draw a blank on the one with the heart on the cover? That one, In a Holidays, I don't think everybody loved. I mean, I know, The Unhoneymooners was like their big hit. And then the ones that kind of came after that haven't been as great, haven't been as well received. This one is totally worth checking out if you can grab a copy from your library. If you're a big Christina Lauren fan, pick it up. I really did enjoy it. The next book that I finished is my least favorite book so far this month, you guys. Did not like this one. Sorry. Do not recommend. Was Maid of Dishonor by Heidi Rice. This is it's a Harlequin Kiss novel, number 29. It's book 3 in the wedding season. Publication date of August of 2013, and it is a contemporary romance. So this is the story of Gina and Carter, and right from the get-go in this one, I had issues. I had issues with Gina. So essentially, like I said, this is the third book in the series, but you don't have to have read the first 2 books. So it wasn't that problem. Like, it wasn't like I was missing out on something and that's why I didn't like it. Truly, I think the books in this series are standalones. And I will go and try the other ones out because it wasn't... I mean, I've read Heidi Rice before and I like her writing. It's just this one, I did not like the characters. I despised the characters in this book. Both of them were just jerks. Like, absolutely. So at the beginning of the book, it's 10 years prior to the start of the story. And it's one of her best friend's weddings. And her best friend is marrying another best friend's brother. And his name is Carter. And he's our male lead in the story. So right at the beginning of the book, like 10 years prior, just before this girl's wedding, Gina sleeps with Carter, knowing, and it's not like it was an accident, like they ended up at a bar and she didn't know who he was. And, you know, it's kind of more his fault. No. It was her. She came on to him knowing full well who he was and who he was going to marry. Right off the get-go. Unlikable. Did not like her. And she didn't. I was really hoping she would redeem herself, but I just felt like she didn't. I don't have a lot to say about this one. They meet back up 10 years later. He's now divorced. He ended up going through with the wedding. He's now divorced, and they're kind of thrown back together because his sister is getting married. And that's one of her friends. So she's in the wedding party. So is he. And they're kind of thrown together. The book was pretty much sex from page 1 to page 218. Like, there was a lot in here, a lot. And that surprised me because I'm like, I've read the Kiss books before, and I think, again, it's one of these lines that depends on the author, that it, you know, like, depending on what author you get, you'll get more or less adult content in it. And it just seems like that's all it was. And I just didn't like either of them. They were both very self-serving. I really don't have much more to say. It was a 2.5-star read. I mean, I finished it, but I didn't particularly enjoy it. So the next one that I finished, this one was so enjoyable, was Dead Sexy by Kimberly Raye. This book is book number 1 in the Skull Creek series. It is Harlequin Blaze novel number 358. Is that 358? I'm not wearing my glasses. Sorry, 358. Publication date November of 2007. This was a contemporary romance paranormal novel, and I gave this one 4 stars. So to hear my full thoughts along with Bree from Falling for Romance, my co-host on the podcast, and Nicole from the great channel who picked this book, I'll leave a link to Nicole's channel below. All 3 of us read this book, and we do talk about it on this upcoming episode of our podcast on Wednesday. So do stay tuned to that to get all of our thoughts on it. We had a really great discussion about this book. So essentially the premise of this one, it's a cowboy vampire. Need I say more? There are 2 more books in this series. There's actually, I think it's like a 6-book series, but the Skull Creek part of it is like a trilogy. And then I think there's like another trilogy that happens in the same town. So Jake is our male lead and he's our vampire. And they feed off of not only blood, but sex as well, essentially. So this book gets very hot and spicy, like right in at chapter 2. Nikki is our female lead, and she is the local beauty shop owner, and she just bought her first house, and she's kind of stuck in a spot where her mom, like her mom and her aunt, she lived with both of them until she got her own house. And her mom is known as kind of like the town easy woman, for lack of a better term. You know, she gets around, let's put it that way. Whereas her aunt is very straight-laced, very going to church, very, like, they're two very opposite ends of the spectrum. And Nikki is caught in the middle. Like, her mom's like, you know, you got to get out more, you got to meet guys, you got to do this. And her aunt's like, no, it's fine, it's fine. You can just be, you know, like, the friend, you know, you don't have to be, you know, anything like that. So then she meets Jake at this state fair. I almost said State Farm. This is Jake from State Farm. Is that what it is? I've seen the commercials once or twice. So anyway, at a state fair, and he propositions her. She ends up going back to his hotel. Of course, he has to leave before the sun comes up because he is a vampire. So he takes off and leaves her there, and she kind of, the maid or the housekeeper walks in, and of course the housekeeper is the town gossip in this very small town. The housekeeper walks in, and, you know, Nikki's fumbling, and she very quickly explains, oh, you know, no. He's an old friend. We sat up late talking, and then we fell asleep. And then this woman, she's like, well, of course, that's what she would do. You're not as pretty as the other girls. He's so good looking. He would never want to be with you. That literally, that's what this woman is saying to this poor girl. So then finally she gets annoyed. She's like, well, you know what? I slept with him. Like this. It was hilarious. And then everybody in town starts to think that they're now engaged, because Nikki wouldn't do that unless she was engaged to somebody, right? And the story goes from there. Vampire part of it is that he is trying to find the vampire who turned him, and he has to kill him. And if he can kill that vampire, then he's no longer a vampire. So that's the vampire part of the story. It was really good. I mean, I am not a fan of paranormal. You guys know this if you watch my channel. I don't read a lot of paranormal. But this one had a great mix of that paranormal element along with that small town contemporary romance, and I was here for it. I loved it so much, and I am so excited. I'm reading book 2 in July and then book 3 in August. So me, Brenda, and Nicole will be talking about these books on different episodes throughout the podcast over the next few months. So stay tuned for that, for all of our thoughts. We had some great discussion on this. Nicole is really, really well versed in vampire literature, if you will. She knows a lot of the lore. We had a great discussion. So highly recommend this one. If it's something you think you'd be into, check it out. The next one that I finished for something way different was Marianne and the Secret in the Attic by Ann M. Merton. This book was Babysitter's Club Mystery number 5. Publication date of August of 1992. It's, of course, a middle grade fiction novel. I gave it 3.5 stars. So there's not much of a mystery. I have found this with these Babysitter's Club mysteries that there's not a whole heck of a lot of mystery. The one that I felt was the biggest mystery one was Christine the Missing Child, because you really did not know as the reader where that child went missing to. Whereas this one, you find out very quickly what the secret in the attic is. It's nothing to do with Nancy Drew. It's pretty much when Marianne, for those of you who are not versed in Babysitter's Club history, when Marianne was a baby, her mother died. And then in this story, we find out that her father gave her to her grandparents to raise for like the first year or so, or something like that, because he couldn't handle it after his wife's death. And she doesn't find this out until much later, going through this attic. So anyway, that's kind of what happens there. That's the mystery. And it's basically, like I said, not a mystery. It's more her struggling to confront her father to find out the truth about what actually happened. So that was that one. I did enjoy it, though. I thought it was a really good story. 3.5 stars. Another fun one in the Babysitters Club. The next one that I finished was Ranch at River's End by Brenda Mott. This one is a Harlequin super romance number 1654. Publication date of August of 2010. This is, of course, a contemporary romance novel. I give it 4 stars. So I wanted to give this one a bit of a higher star rating because I felt like it was dealing with some topics that were really difficult. So the first thing is that our main female lead, Darcy, is new in town. Not new. She used to live in town, and then they moved to Colorado. Excuse me. So when they're living in Colorado, her husband left her, so it was just her and her son. And her son's name is Chris, and he's like 13 years old. and he's being cyberbullied by these boys. And then one day he brings a fake gun into school to kind of show them a lesson, if you will. And he ends up spending time in juvenile detention. He's seeing a counselor, you know, all these things. So anyway, she moves back to this small town called River's End to try and, you know, start over, give Christopher, you know, a new start and stuff like that. And then she meets Jordan, and he is the local town, like, he is an ER doctor in the local hospital, and she is actually the receptionist in the emergency room. So that's how they end up meeting. He has a daughter. His wife, he's a widow, and his wife died in a convenience store robbery, and his daughter was severely injured in that robbery as well a couple years earlier. So that's kind of both of their backstories. So right away I was kind of like, wow, we are dealing with some very, very heavy topics, and I was really enjoying it. And then it got more towards the end, and it just seemed they piled thing on top of thing on top of thing. Like, Darcy gets hurt like 4 times. She falls off. Does she fall off a horse? She gets stepped on by a horse. She ends up hitting her head doing something. There's a car accident, and then something happens with the kids at this party, both Jordan's daughter and Christopher, Darcy's son, and it just felt like it was a little too much. Like, we could have just gone with the original 2 problems and dealt with those and just, you know, continued on our merry way and, you know, let the characters learn and grow and stuff like that. One of the events, I have to say, the event that happens with the kids at this party was needed to push the plot along for sure, with both of their growth and turning a corner in, you know, what they were dealing with emotionally. However, it was some of the other things that kind of got to me, so that's why it only got 4 stars. But at the end of the day, I still did enjoy it. It was an enjoyable read. I recommend that you pick it up if it sounds good to you. It does say it's part of the You, Me, and the Kids series, but this is not a series you need to read in order. This just kind of denotes that this is series that deal with single parents. So yeah, so it was good. I didn't dislike it. Let's put it that way. The next book that I finished was Danger in Numbers by Heather Graham, right here. This one is a NetGalley read, so thank you to NetGalley and Harlequin Mira for sending me an e-art copy of this one to review. Yes, I do have a hardcover copy, and I did actually listen to this one on audio. It was narrated by Eva Kaminsky. This has a publication date of March of 2021, and it is a mystery thriller. This is not listed as part of a series, however, the ending was a bit open-ended. So you guys know, I am a huge, huge fan of Heather Graham. I love her stuff. However, this one I didn't think was that spectacular. It just felt like a lot. Like, there were so many characters in this book. It was kind of hard to keep. And it's not a terribly long book, you guys. I think on audio it was like right around 8 hours. So it's not a long read, but it's very gruesome. I will say that. This deals with with cults and with kind of that whole brainwashing kind of an aspect. And this guy who thinks he's the leader and he's killing off all the people who don't agree with him. It takes place in the Florida Everglades. There was a lot of good things in this book. I mean, I did give it 3.5 stars. You know, bordering more maybe even on a 4-star read. But for Heather Graham, not my favorite at all. You know, there are other books by her that I definitely think that you should check out ahead of this one. Although, if you are a Heather Graham fan, check it out. Again, it's not like I got the audiobook from my library in I received it in 2 weeks or something like that. Like, there weren't a lot of holds on it. So if you're interested, just check it out on audio. The narration on this one was really good. And yeah, I mean, it was pretty much about this FBI agent and this local Florida police officer finding out who these killers are and who's murdering these people. That's the story. That's pretty much the story. Like I said, gruesome, you know, a lot of technical stuff, a lot of interesting stuff about Florida. And yeah, so at the end of the day, didn't hate it, didn't love it. It was entertaining. And the last book that I finished this week, my favorite book of the week, Road Trip with the Best Man by Sophie Pembroke. Oh my gosh, you guys, this book was so good. So this was Harlequin Romance number 4622, publication date June 2018, contemporary romance novel. I gave this book 4.5 stars, you guys. I loved it so much. It is now my favorite book of the month. I keep a list as I go throughout and I read each book. I slot them into my list. And this is my favorite book of the month. So this is the story of Dawn and Jordan. And essentially Dawn is about to marry Jordan's brother, Justin. And literally it's less than an hour before the wedding and Justin does not show up. So she is, of course, angry. She wants to know why. Sadly, there's a history of this with her. This is the furthest she's ever gotten, is to the altar. She had a couple of guys break up with her while they were engaged and one guy in a long-term relationship. Jordan thinks that she is a gold digger. Is it Jordan? It's Cooper. I apologize. Jordan was in the ranch at River's End. It's Cooper. Sorry about that. This is what happens when you read a bunch of books. I do write it down so I don't forget, but clearly I wrote it down wrong. So Dawn and Cooper. So Cooper believes that she's a gold digger. That's what his ex-wife was. They come from a lot of family money and they feel like she is, she's a gold digger and that's why Justin came to his senses and, you know, yada, yada, yada. So right after she says to Cooper, he's rented this car. She's like, you're going to drive me to find him because you know where he is. And he's at the family beach house in the Hamptons. And the wedding was taking place in California. So it's literally a cross-country road trip of the two of them. And I was here for it. It was so, so good. So they stop at all these little random roadside attractions. I talked about this in my Friday reads. This place that has the largest dead polar bear. They stop at the largest truck stop or something like that. And she's like buying keychains and she thinks this is just great. She's actually from the UK. She's from Britain. So a lot of this whole, you know, road trip thing is brand new to her. They're doing this road trip in this classic Cadillac that only plays Elvis songs. And it was so good. Very slow burn. Nothing ends up happening till like the last 25 pages of the book. And I am really happy about that. I think that's what even upped the star rating for me, is because it would have been like she was literally engaged to be married. Like she was in her wedding dress. How you can suddenly start something with somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So they did have one night together, but this is what's interesting. So earlier this month, I read The Princess and the Rebel Billionaire by Sophie Pembroke. And that book was also a Harlequin romance novel, and it was spicy, off the charts spicy. Like, it had adult content. There was a lot of adult content in that book. This one was a fade to black, which I was, like, I've read Sophie Pembroke before, and I remembered her being a fade to black author. And then I read this other one by her that is the more recent release. It comes out next month in July. And it was very spicy. And this one was more the Sophie Pembroke that I am used to. So I just found that very interesting. And I mean, both were enjoyable. But I think that it worked better for this story with the fade to black. You know, so yeah, it was good. I really, really liked it. You know, spoiler alert for the end, they do take time away from each other to kind of figure out, you know, they both go through a lot of changes during the road trip, and so good. You guys, you need to pick this book up. It was so, so good. And can I just say, I don't know what it is about this cover, but it is stunning. The cover of this book is just absolutely stunning, and I love it. I love it. So yeah, so do yourself a favor and pick this one up, please. It was so good. So that is everything that I read this week, you guys. Wow. 8 books. Craziness. And I'm working on 4. I'm reading 4. So some of these I'm actually going to be starting today. I'm kind of in the mood to start all the books. That's what I've been doing. Like, I've had more than one book on the go at a time. Sometimes 3 or 4 books on the go at a time. And clearly I'm finishing them and not having an issue with it. So it seems to be working. So I'm just going to continue. I do have to say, the one book I've talked about a couple times was And Then There Were Crumbs by Eve Calder. I actually ended up DNFing that one. And it wasn't a DNF like, oh, I don't want to read this one again. I don't like it. No, I was enjoying it. However, I hadn't picked it up in like 6 days. And I kept saying to myself, oh, I'll read some of it tomorrow. I'll read some of it tomorrow. And I wasn't doing that. I'm like, it's a library book. Just send it back to the library. Somebody was waiting on it. I will pick it up at a later date. I have all these other books that I had on my TBR from the month of June that I really want to get to. So that's my bigger priority right now. So that's kind of what I'm doing. But the 4 books that are currently getting worked on, I've got 3 ebooks and an audiobook. So the first ebook is The Match by Sarah Adams. This is the first book in the It Happened in Charleston series. This I'm reading for the Book Sisters Book Club. The Live show for this will be this coming Saturday. So do stay tuned for that here on, I think it's on my channel. Maybe it's not on my channel. Maybe it's on Chloe's channel. I can't remember. I'll post it right here and let you guys know. But if it is going to be on my channel, you will see me post an announcement. Like, I'll put up the live show information midweek, so you guys can go and check that out. But yeah, we'll be talking about this one. It's a single dad romance. It's available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you're just hearing about it now, me, Chloe, and Bree run a book club called the Book Sisters, and every month we pick a different book, or you guys pick a book, and then we all read it, and then we sit and discuss it generally the last Saturday of the month. So stay tuned for that this coming Saturday. And if you haven't picked this one up yet, it's under 300 pages. Again, it's on Kindle Unlimited. Check it out. The next one is Guardian in the Storm by Carla Cassidy. This is a Harlequin romantic suspense novel. It's book 6 in the Colton 911 Chicago series. This is about a couple who are like, I don't think they're not a couple at the beginning of the story. I think he's some sort of a law enforcement individual, and he's protecting her, and then the two of them end up getting stuck in this big storm. That's what I know about this book. That's pretty much it. The next one is Winning Mr. Charming by Heatherly Bell. This is the first book in the Charming Texas series. It's a small-town contemporary romance. It's a special edition novel. I love the cover on this one. They're both running for office in town, I think, and that's, again, all I know about this story. And the audiobook that I am currently reading is Coming Home to Seashell Harbor by Miranda Larson, I think it's Larson. Book 1 in the Seashell Harbor series. This one I've only just started. It's about a girl who, she suffered a bad breakup. She was living out in Hollywood. She was dating actually a very famous actor. He dumped her very publicly. So she decides to come home, kind of lick her wounds. And she's going to help her grandmother run this like dog shelter that she has, to find out that the grandmother has hurt herself. She's in the hospital. She has to have her hip replaced, I think. And that this local guy in town, or he had left town, and now he's back in town. He wants to buy this rescue dog place, and I think turn it into condos. But the guy is her ex-boyfriend, of course. So this is a second chance romance, small town contemporary. So far, I'm really enjoying it. And yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that one done too. So that's it, you guys. That's today's video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them. And yeah, if you are, I can't think right now. If you're going to join us for the live show this coming weekend, let us know. Are you reading The Match? No spoilers if you've already read it. I'm trying to stay off of Goodreads and seeing if any of my friends have read it, because I want to just kind of judge it for myself. And yeah, so anyway, you guys, until my next video, take care and happy reading. Thank you all so much for watching. Bye, guys.